Most of these girls in this industry might need some help, and who better than another woman to help them? I think with the girls in the industry, they don't run themselves as a business.
What is GST?
With $100,000, so understand that 10%, it's not yours. It goes straight to the ATO. You have to have the receipts because not every single item has GST.
When do we pay the tax man?
So once you register for GST, you should be doing BAS, B-A-S.
Someone who's been audited.
Algorithm run in the background. So
Yeah.
if anything sounds a bit dodgy, you raise a red flag. Is she making enough money to afford this brand new car?
You've got no income.
Do the right thing, because if you started doing the right thing at the early stage of your career, you just set yourself for success in the future.
Wow, I feel good. I knew that I would now. I feel good.
Welcome back to another episode of the Spicy Waitress Diaries. I'm your host Tia, and this is Opal.
Today we have the lovely Jess on our podcast. Jess is a bookkeeper. She has also just launched a business called HerBooks. I'm going to preface this episode by putting a quick disclaimer here. None of this advice that we're giving you should take on as legitimate tax advice. We are not tax accountants, and Jess is not a tax accountant either. You'll have to do your own due diligence when it comes to your own specific tax.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. Yes, that's correct. Although I'm working as a bookkeeper, I have a degree in accounting. So I'm now working towards my future qualifications. So at this stage, all that I can offer for the girls is a bookkeeping service.
Yeah, and is that online?
Yes.
How do girls reach you? Is it like an online consult?
At this stage, it's just word of mouth.
Yeah.
One girl tell another, and that's just how I stumbled into this industry. From one girl, and she was telling another, and that was when I saw the opportunity. So most of these girls in this industry might need some help, and who better than another woman to help them?
Definitely.
So how long have you been doing it for now?
So the idea really started recently, just a few months, but I have been helping girls for the past 2 years.
With the girls in the industry, what do they mainly need help with, and what do they need your services for?
I think with the girls in the industry, one thing I see in common, they don't run themselves as a business. They just think, it's a money-making opportunity where I'll be making all this cash and I'll be spending it all. But in reality, you're running a business and you should treat it as such and, be responsible about it, because the moment you have money in and money coming out, you're running a business.
Yeah.
And the moment you're making money, the ATO is going to knock on your door and they want some of that money.
We had a tax episode, and we both kind of shared our stories about how we got into the industry, and we didn't even know tax bills.
Wow. Who's the tax man?
Yeah,
No
yeah.
idea.
And I think a lot of girls, because stripping is such a taboo topic, it's not spoken about. So what kind of services do you offer?
At this stage, I can only offer bookkeeper.
Yeah.
So what we do, go through all your transactions. So if you use your bank, you should have at least a business bank account. And then we go through all your transactions. We can record keeping all your income, all your expenses. And then one thing I've done differently for the girls in the industry, so we can also track their income on an average. Let's say, for example, you work 10 nights a month. What's your average? Because I understand that this business, your nights might fluctuate.
Yeah.
So one night you might make, let's say, $400, and another night $1,000. So the idea is to understand at least how much money you're making on average, so that way you can sort of forecast your income, or at least control a little bit.
It is such a volatile industry, and so money does go up and down. And I remember the minute I started tracking it, I was like, where did that
Wow.
money go?
Cash as well. It's
Yeah.
it's unaccounted for sometimes. Do you encourage all your girls to deposit their cash?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And the way that I set up this spreadsheet is in a way where we can put all the money in, all the money out, and then if you transfer or deposit some money, all the formulas should be linked. So you should know exactly how much money you have in hand. So that's the way to set up. So that way it also helps you to take control of your money, so you don't lose any cash or don't misplace any entries, such as, let's say you spend some money and you didn't take that into account.
Yeah.
And when you look at your cash, let's say you have $1,000 and you look into a spreadsheet and there's only $800. So where's the other 200? So it holds you accountable as well for every single dollar in a way.
I love tracking our money now. I think that's something as well as business owners. We're all business owners within the industry. Just looking at your year going this is how much we made, and then you can now put more things in place to go, how can we make more money what are the strategies we can go from there. So it would be really nice to actually have everything laid out.
Yeah, it's great.
So when you take girls on, that's where you start. You look at their past expenses and then how to help them make more money, really, by tracking it.
Yes, correct. So like one of my current clients, we went through all her transactions for the year. So we download all the transactions from the bank, categorize everything. So she needs to do that because, of course, I don't know what her expenses are. So then I can run some formulas and we can see exactly how much money she's paying on each item.
Yeah.
And then some of them are just personal expense that you can, track yourself just so you know how much money you're spending on hair, nails, and groceries. But there's also some of those who are deductions for the businesses because not everyone has a business bank account, and that's where things can go missing. And the more you can track, the more you can keep your expenses on top. That means you're going to have more deductions and then a lower tax bill in the end.
So would you say for girls to get an ABN, start a business bank account, and then every time you're spending money for work, spend only through that business account, and then when you're putting money in, only put it in that account, so it's easier to track it all for you, especially to look through it?
Correct. Ideally, you'd have a business bank account, and each person is different. This person that I'm working out at the moment, that's what I say to her to do, because she also has other platforms, other ways to make money, such as OnlyFans and other videos. Yeah. So if she has everything in one bank account, it's easy for me to track, so I don't need to look into her personal expenses. And then from there, we can work, okay, this is your expenses. From these numbers, we can also look into your income. If you're thinking of working 10 nights, so what's your average? That's why it's good to look into the average as well. Let's say your average is 1,500 a night. Of course, not every night's the same, but you at least know an average, how much money you can make if you keep that. So then you can also work on their goals in terms of not making the money. I can't help them making money, but I can help them tracking the money. So let's say if you have a goal for that particular month, I want to make X amount of money. Then if you work 10 nights, you should be making at least this much money. So you understand in the number wise how much money you should be making per night. Yeah. Of course, not always the same. But what you can also do, let's say the first 2 weeks of the month, you just going to work 2 nights, but it wasn't great. So then looking at the numbers, knowing that you're not yet quite there, you can maybe add an extra night. Or perhaps if you have the OnlyFans, maybe, let's try to put more effort into that platform and see if I can get more money from there. Yeah. And then we can track on a weekly, halfway through the month and the monthly, so we can see exactly how much money you make, how much money you spend, and how much money you saved month by month.
Yeah, it's like a lot of clarity. Yeah.
And it's like a fun game. You're like, right, how much can I make this month now? Once you've seen the last month.
With our agency, we obviously got a fast turnover of girls. Some of them have been in the industry for a while. Some of them have come from working for employers. I guess kind of coming from a point of view of our watchers that would be like just started in the industry, or maybe they've just become a business owner, a sole trader. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. What is GST?
GST, that's probably the most taboo around this industry, is understanding what GST is. GST is goods service tax. So aside of your income tax, you pay GST tax if you're registered. And again, let me remind yourself, I'm not a tax agent. This information you can find online. It's very simple to understand, but I'm just going to give you a rundown. So GST is goods service tax that you would be charging a customer. But of course, if you're giving someone a lap dance, you're not going to say, hey, can you give me 10% on GST? So basically, it's like when you buy something at a shopping, the amount that you see is including GST. So just included. That is basically 10%. So everything that you make, if you are registered for GST, is 10% of that you have to be sending to the ATO. Only if you're making more than 75,000 per financial year. Okay. And that's why it's so good to track. Because let's say, for instance, you're not tracking your money, you're just depositing all that much money in your bank account, and all of a sudden you, let's say, put $100,000. So understand that 10%, it's not yours. It goes straight to the ATO.
To put it into like a legitimate situation, if I've just gone for a lap dance with a guy and I've charged him $150, how much of that should I be putting away in an account to save for tax time?
Right. So you're not going to be asking him an extra 10%. You do that when you send an invoice. But that amount would have been $13.64.
Out of 150.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is 150 divided by 11. That's how we get to that number.
Okay.
As someone who takes the deposits, because I'll invoice our clients, I always do our deposit and then plus 10%. Am I doing that right?
If you use a system, like an accounting system, the accounting system will be set up correctly, so you don't need to worry about the actual numbers.
Yeah.
But if you do that, that's how you calculate. Divide by
Cool.
11.
All right. Well, my invoices match when I message the guys. So that does work.
Good sign.
Good. Okay, that's good to know. Yep. Because accounting is just like, I'm learning as we go. Like, I do the books side of it. GST is one part, and then what are some other things that we have to prepare for?
Oh, GST has part 2.
Okay.
So that's GST collected from the customer, but you also pay GST when you're paying for something as a business. So let's say a dancer goes and buy a pair of shoes, a pair of blazers, and if that business is also registered for GST, they'll be charging her GST. So let's give the same example, $150 and whatever the amount was. So they're charging you a GST on top of the price of the shoes. So when it's time to give the money back to the ATO in terms of GST, it will be the difference of what you charged minus what you paid for. So you just send them the difference.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, you calculate all your GST, and it's 10,000 worth of GST collected. And then throughout your expenses, you sum up and you have 5,000 worth of GST collected. Instead of sending straight away 10,000 to the ATO, you then will be sending only 5,000, which is the difference.
And is that why everyone always says it's good to spend more?
Yes, if you have the cash flow.
Yeah.
But it's also good to know you have to have the receipts, because not every single item has GST. And sometimes, like we're going through that details, 10% doesn't mean exactly $1 of $10. So you have to understand exactly how much money it says on that receipt and then put that correct amount in order to claim that back.
Aside from GST, girls would have to save their money for tax time as well. What do you suggest with that?
Correct. So those are two different taxes, GST, and there is income tax. So in that amount of money, there'll be brackets that you can find online as well. Let's say if you make less than 18,200, you don't pay any tax. Unlikely in this industry, from what I see, but that's the threshold. So you don't pay any tax if it's up to that amount of money, and then it goes from different brackets. So I'm going to actually tell the numbers from the ATO website, so there's no errors. So if you make anything from 45,000 to 135, you'll be paying roughly 45%. If you make anything from 135,000 to 190, you'll be paying 35%. And then if you make anything above $100,000, you'll be paying 45%. So roughly. But again, not a tax agent. There's a lot more other things to be taken into consideration, such as Medicare levy. It's just so you have an understanding that at least that much money, it's not yours. You should be putting aside. And then once you actually do your tax return, then you can see the final number. And then you have more than enough to pay that bill.
What's Medicare levy?
Medicare. So you as an Australian resident, you pay 2% Medicare. If you are above a certain amount of money, which I can look and tell you exactly what that is, you pay an extra 2%. And the reason why the Australian government, they do that, so if you have a private health insurance, you don't have to pay for the Medicare levy. So it's less 2%. So just a way of them getting you to get private health insurance and using them instead of Medicare.
It's good that there's people like you to actually explain all this, because as a business owner, you just don't want to be every single part to the business.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to delegate some things for sure.
You focus on your craft and we'll handle the boring stuff.
I know when I do the invoices, I literally have the music blasting and I'm like on my walking pad trying to get through it, because I'm like, this is just such a boring task.
Do you do manually?
I do on Xero. I'll pop it all in there. So
Oh, that's good. That helps.
I actually found my old tax book where I had to write it all in and then my expenses on the side, and it was just so cute to look back on when I started and then where we are now.
One of the girls, we have to have her on Xero because she just got too many transactions and a lot of source of income. So I said, maybe if you do it this way, it's easier for me to work on this side instead of always downloading bank statements. And that's why it's important to have that business account. So then that's the only thing I'll be looking at. But then if someone else is just doing a casual few nights at the club, so they don't need that much. So just a spreadsheet, Excel, it's enough.
So the girls going in don't need to download Xero. They can just just have a spreadsheet for you.
Yeah, not necessarily. The idea is to track it. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be, even if you do it on a piece of paper, it's still information.
When they've got all their money sorted out, when do we pay the tax man? And what happens if we pay our GST or our tax late?
Okay, so now it gets a bit more complex. So once you register for GST, you should be doing BAS, BAS, so Business Activity Statement. And that's usually done every 3 months, so per quarter. So we have 4 quarters in a year. If you be making less than 20 million, you can do a quarter. If you're doing any more than that, then you have to do monthly. So if your girls are on that bracket, you should be doing every month. But another thing is, if you voluntarily register yourself for GST, so they know you're aware of that, you can also do once a year. So just when, instead of doing quarterly, you don't have enough transactions, you don't have that much of GST paid and collected, so you can do just once a year, just like a normal tax return.
When do you start paying BAS?
As soon as you register for GST.
And what happens if we don't pay the GST?
Well, you can then get a fine. Another way that they will try to get the money is holding you personally accountable for that bill. Let's say if you're running a partnership or a company and your company owns that much money, they will then find a way to charge the director for that GST, so you'll be held personally for that bill.
Oh, yeah.
So, for example, if me and Opal, because we're both directors, if the bill came in and like I didn't pay it, they would just charge us both.
Yes, personally.
Okay, and then that would be like she'd get mad at me, so then I'd be, and then it would make an issue. They try and get in.
They do.
But they'll send a few letters before. It won't go straight to that point. I think there is a system.
Yeah.
The ATO, I think I was a day late with paying something. They charged an extra $99. Like a day. They have been really full on, and my accountant was like, yeah, they're really full on at the moment. They are just like, there's no leniency. Tell us about auditing, and have you ever had an issue with that or seen someone who's been audited?
No, not myself, but I do work with a tax agent, and recently he was being audited. Not him personally, just, they just pick someone and pick 5 random customers, and then funny enough, one of them was a dancer.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So wait, they pick at random?
Yes.
So is there anything that they look for specifically?
No, they just take samples. So let's say,
So the ATO just randomly picks people to audit.
what I'm going to say now, I can't say for sure, but my understanding is that there are algorithm that's running in the background. So if anything sounds a bit dodgy, you raise a red flag, and then that's the system running in the background, and then someone will then personally go look into that.
Yeah,
That's just what I know.
Okay.
But it's not like any information that I can say for certain.
Yeah.
That's the saying where they're like, just stay off their red flag thing.
Yeah.
If you get flagged by the
And
ATO.
do you know the process of auditing?
They would just be asking for samples. So let's say, for example, you have a deduction of 7,000 worth of accounting fees, for example. And then they pick the sample, say, can you please provide a documentation of this deduction? And then you have to then provide with the invoice.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to keep the record keeping as best as you can. As a business, should be keeping for at least 5 years. And even for yourself, should be keeping for as long as possible, because you never know when you might need it.
So when you are like being a dancer, a lot of them get paid cash. So would that be a flag for the ATO?
Again, I can't say for certain, but any cash business, they do have an idea of how much money those businesses will be making. And again, if you go through that algorithm and then goes through and there's nothing raised, okay,
You're
but
fine.
yeah.
Yeah. It's more if it's like we start making like
We're buying cars and things
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
that you can't justify.
Yeah. Even ATO, they have to be transparent with everything that they do, and all of the accountants also know where they'll be looking for. So as you mentioned, a car. My understanding is that when you buy a brand new car, the ATO would have to get a notification of that purchase.
okay.
So then they'll look into your tax returns. They'll be like, oh, is she making enough money to afford this brand new car? And then says that you only declared $30,000 and you're buying $100,000 worth of a car.
I've seen someone in the industry, she said that her accountant was like, you need to go buy a car, like you need to go do that. So because she was earning too much, so he was like, you need to have a deduction.
Look, I think my advice in general would be for the girls to really pay attention on everything that they're doing. Track your money, all your income, all your expenses. Even if you don't use a professional, just do on a piece of paper, on a simple spreadsheet. Pay your taxes, do the right thing, because if you started doing the right thing at the early stage of your career, you just set yourself for success in the future. So
Definitely.
And
Totally agree.
That one thing that I learned as well is like I went to go put money down for a house at one point or look into it, and she's like, you've got no income, because it was all cash, so putting it aside.
Yeah, definitely. And like getting out of the mindset of like, we hate tax. Tax means you're earning money.
exactly.
Mm.
And you pay it, and you know that that money that's saved, whatever that's left, you can do something about it instead of just wasting purchase.
Yeah, because no one's gonna, like, you can't get a bank loan if you just have cash. You can't, and that means no car, no house, and you want to work in the strip club, like you really need to make the most of that time. You don't want to be like 5 years in and going, oh, all I have is cash, and now I want to leave the industry. You're like, I need to do something with it to make sure that I'm set up. We always end our podcast asking what's something that nobody knows about you. It's like just, it can be any quirk, anything. Simple, extravagant.
I have to think about it now.
Truly, get stumped with this.
Okay, maybe I haven't told anyone that I like to listen to true crime podcasts.
Right before you go to bed as well?
No, when I'm cleaning the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's more about the investigation side of it, not the killing.
Thank you so much for coming on today. Your information and your services are going to be so helpful to all the girls. So thank you.
How can they reach out to you?
Oh, yes. At the moment, I have the Instagram page, herbooks.au, or just an email, contact@herbooks.com.au.
Thanks everyone for watching. If you can like, follow and subscribe, it means we can bring you more episodes every week. So thanks again.